All right, everybody. I believe we are recording. Thanks so much for everyone who can join us. For those of you who are not joining us, you'll catch the recording, and I'll be able to send this out. But I want to thank you all for showing up. I want to thank Rotty for joining us here and taking time out of his busy dad and coach schedule, and of course running a very successful business. And just as a reminder of why we are doing this and the whole basis behind just always wanting to add value to our groups, to our members, to our colleagues, and aspiring real estate investors. And there are still opportunities out there. We keep seeing them every day for fix and flip deals, for construction deals. We're doing those on a regular basis. And many people here are aspiring real estate investors. Many are going to be very active real estate investors. Some are going to be investors that want to get into potentially bigger deals and maybe don't have the bandwidth. So there's going to be a broad stroke of what we're going to be able to hopefully bring to the table with Rotty and the Rehab Depot. But as having been on the other side of this, is starting my career and my adventures in the fix and flip game. Before I ever did a deal before in my life, I didn't know what to do. And one of the scariest parts is, how do you analyze a rehab budget? How do you put together that budget? How do you even walk through a property to estimate the repairs properly? Who do you have that's gonna look over your back in those things? And geez Louise, guys, I'm really sorry. I turned my phone off and I'm still getting notifications. Too bad I can't mute myself because I got to talk right now. But as we progress, when I got started, one of the scariest things was I wasn't going to allow the fact that I couldn't get properties under contract where I lived stop me from breaking into rehabbing properties. And so I actually started rehabbing properties remotely, which is something that people kind of progress into. That's how I started. My first three flips were over 3 hours away from where I lived. So I very rarely got to see the properties, touch the properties, smell the properties. I mostly like saw the pictures, and then I went to the, hooray, we got it done, and now we got it sold, and I got to do that. But that also gave me the confidence to then go out of California and start flipping homes in Indianapolis, and then eventually in Kansas City, Missouri, and eventually in Dallas, and eventually coming back to California to do much bigger deals, where now I'm structuring debt equity for builders and developers and guys building the McMansions out there, and just finding a different way to partner more on the capital side. And so progressively, I transitioned into doing more and more brokering private money and things of that nature, because eventually I had way more money than I had my own personal deals. So I had to put that money out because the money wants to move. And if you don't move it, it's going to find somebody else to move it. So that's how I kind of just transition into also private lending, and then eventually mortgage, and eventually rebranding my whole personal brand to Your Kingdom Lender, so that all the things that we do continue to give glory back to God. And I believe that as long as we have that good work ethic and do right by people and go above and beyond to provide value for others, we can all do much better together. So come in, Rotty. Through my business partner and one of my best friends, Matt, he made the introduction, and we just kind of started thinking about this idea. Why don't we bring Rotty into the group and tell them what he can do to help the new investor figure out how to feel comfortable with analyzing numbers, with running the rehab budget. How do you protect yourself from general contractors or GCs or subs that may try to give you overruns in your budget and different things? How do I do it remotely? What if I want to do ground up construction and I'm not sure how to do it? Nobody will lend me the money because I don't have the experience. Well, is there an opportunity to leverage and to partner that way? There's so many cool things that we're going to talk about. And Rotty, I would just love for you to kind of just come on and tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got started, what gave you the vision for what you're doing now, and kind of what your bread and butter really is for helping people in this arena.
Yeah, man. So I appreciate you guys having me. Appreciate, shout out to Matt and obviously you. So I appreciate everything like that. In a nutshell, I'll just give a quick synopsis on the background. Been GC for 20 years, actually 22 years. We've done only investments. So we're not the GC that would just take on anybody's kitchens and bathrooms and things like that. Because at the end of the day, we've done probably 5,000 kitchens and 5,000 bathrooms, if that makes more sense, because we've stayed in the rehab game. We got our start. I started this business at 20. I just turned 43 on the 11th, whatever that, 4 days ago, maybe. 5 days ago. So this is all I know. My entire adult life has been in real estate investing, rehabbing, equity splits, consulting, coaching, boot camping, speaking, all that good stuff, right? All the things that kind of come through the different levels and layers as you grow and evolve in the business. But first and foremost, we're GCs. We've been working with the hedge funds first. When we started off, during the 9/11 recession. That was because it's my birthday, 9/11. So I know what it's like to go through recessions, numerous recessions, obviously. Most people that got into the game that I've known over the years came in around '08, right? So they saw that, they took advantage of that, so to speak. But the reality is we've done thousands of flips. We've done hundreds of new construction builds. And as we consider ourselves the foremost authority, we're the most highly decorated contractors in real estate investing. Inc. 5000, Remodeling Magazine, every notable, I guess, company in a space, they've recognized, and I'm glad, because when you get the credentials, and I'm not saying this to brag, I say this from a business standpoint. Every feather you get in your cap, your prices go up. That's business, right? Your value goes up. So when you start looking at this, and again, I teach construction to investors, and I teach construction to contractors how to run their business. I say these types of things like, when you understand your value, you're gonna get paid. And that also helps you siphon through, like you said earlier in the conversation, a good contractor versus a bad contractor, good subs versus bad subs, things like that. These things are going to happen regardless. But when you're able to separate yourself from the pack with those types of credentials, it helps, right? And you're going to pay for that as well. So at the end of the day, that's kind of our background, right? We spent all of our time in this arena. We spent all of our time real estate investing. We spent all of our time training, doing boot camps. We have an online academy as well. We do live classes our own on Wednesday nights as well, and we cover everything in construction. And every month is kind of like a theme. So it might be budget, theme could be budget month. It could be scope of work month. It could be hiring and firing month. It could be lien waiver month, whatever. But we teach all that. So our background and our bread and butter truly is construction 101, rehabbing, working with investment companies. And that strictly is our forte, and we're going to stay there. What we've done over the years recently is we've started partnering with a lot of our clients. And when I say that, what I mean by that is we have a lot of clients that sometimes they can't afford our construction management fees. And I say, hey, we have an idea. If you can afford our fees, because oftentimes they're borrowing capital, we understand that, and they're not as liquid as non-investors would know, right? So they don't have the front end cash to get us going. I'll say, hey, let's do a split. We'll charge you 50% of what our fee is to run the jobs and do the whole construction management virtually and boots on the ground, in return for 5% on the back end, whether it be a rental, Airbnb, sale. That you get the idea. Once we started doing it that way, we realized the value, which brings us here, is in multiple ways, right? So if you have borrowers on the call who are borrowing money, and maybe single family has been their wheelhouse and their avenue and lane for many years, but they've got this opportunity to go into a hotel or a deconversion or a multi-unit family building or anything, senior living, right? Or new construction. That's where we would come in as a value, because we'd say, hey, listen, I know that you know how to invest. We've gathered that, but this is a different animal that you're going to be doing on a construction. Why don't you let us do that, but learn alongside us, right? Manage it with us. Understand what we're doing, and you're getting our scopes of work. You're getting our budgets. You're getting our know-how. You're getting the idea of how we look and analyze deals ourselves, right? Because we, as investors, right, we are always partnering with different investors that want to offload properties. Like I just got a portfolio of 27 single family homes in Indiana, where the guy literally calls me and says, bro, I'm a tired landlord. The shit's gone. I'm a fortune builder student from back in the day, and it just didn't go as well as I wanted. It was, what can you do for me? I said, nothing. I said, I could wholesale it. I said, I'll put it under contract and I'll put it to my buyers. That's it, right? But that's my point, is that understanding the significance of construction gives us multiple exit strategies, right? So when you're the investor and you understand construction and you understand that there is a partner out there, it's wise to possibly give up a little piece of the pie. 5% is nothing, but give up a little piece of the pie so that you know it's going to be done correctly. It's not going to be done perfectly. There's going to be challenges without question. It's construction. But you're able to start learning more. So it's almost like you're paying for not only the consultation, you're paying for the education, you're also paying for the management. And at the end of the day, you can say, you know what? That is for me, or that's not for me. I'm going back to single family, right? Or you're like, dude, this is great. I want to go buy land now and do new developments and container homes or whatever. by partnering with us and learning by what we do, it does make you stronger as a company, but it also adds to your, educational level of what you can and cannot do. And more importantly, what do you like? You don't have to invest in everything, and not everybody's your friend in this business. So you have to understand every aspect of what do you want to rehab? What should you rehab? And more importantly, what should you not rehab? And that comes down to learning your budgets. That comes down to understanding how to negotiate with contractors. And most importantly, I always say it comes down to awarding contracts. Like, I don't ever look at bids. I'm the one that bids everything. Like, I'm the bidder. So why am I going to go, hey, let me go get the concrete bid? Why am I going to go wait for framing? That's my shit. That's what I do, right? So we teach that and show you guys, if you can control the numbers from the onset, right? When you go to like a guy like Ivan and say, hey man, I've got a deal. Can you guys underwrite it? If you really legitimately already know your numbers as the investor coming in, chances are it's getting underwritten, because you guys can vibe and say, hey, I'm seeing it as a $150,000 construction project all day long, and here's why. Boom, 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 boom. Right? You guys can vibe now and go back and forth and say, oh, you know what? I didn't see that, or I didn't even consider that. Or that's actually a good idea. Or, you know what? That is a risk that we need to consider, you know? So that's the key. And that's a huge value add that we've been doing now with investors all across the country, where they come and bring us projects that are above their size and scope and purview, especially their experience level. And they say, hey, man, can you run this for me? And oftentimes we'll say yes, right? And then we show them how to make that deal, so that obviously they want to go and get it funded, right? And understanding how funding works and hard money and private money is a skill set of ours, because again, we're investors as well, and we've worked with every lender out there, so we understand what they're looking for. And ultimately, what is the biggest thing that everybody's always going to be bitching about? Construction, right? Even the lenders are concerned about construction. There's risk there. The investor, the borrower, it doesn't matter. Even the contractors now are getting more savvy to say, oh, you're a real estate investor. First thing people think on the contracting side is, you don't know anything. You don't even know, you're going to be all over me. This doesn't look good, but do you know how to build it? Right? How can you tell me what's good? Or, you know what, this doesn't look like quality. Can you tell me why it's not quality? Have you ever done that before? Have you ever done stucco? No, then how can you tell me it's quality? So you're going to start being able to eliminate a lot of that back and forth with those contractors and subs by learning through us how we do it. And we basically offer it multiple ways. You can learn through us. You can hire us directly to run everything, or we can consult you and show you how to build out your own construction division, and you go hire and do your own thing. That to me has been a tremendous value add. And
Yeah.
I believe I reached out to Matt.
So let me dive into some of that real quick too,
Go
because
for it, brother.
we kind of see almost like how big you can take things. Right. So let's
Right.
let's not come down to, well, how small can we start things? Right.
Sure.
And from what I've seen, there's a variety of different ways that you can help people, and that people can work with you. And one of those things is as simple as, hey, look, I got this deal under contract. I've walked it. I walked it with a couple of my contractors. We put together a line item budget and scope of work. Could you just double check this for us to make sure that we're in line? Something as small as that, and for a small fee for taking the time to do it, and then you check it out. And then you've done the same thing, because I know some of the lenders that I work with actually hire your company to say, hey, we got this deal, we like it, we got the appraisal. Part of what's going on though is we want you to do a quick review of this budget. And I've seen you go and you do a quick inspection, like, oh well, hey, they missed this one little item over here. There's a trap that was missed. It's going to be another extra $250, and then they add it to the line item budget. So just super basic front end stuff like that is one of the things that you offer, correct?
Correct. Correct. So oftentimes we help with the underwriting from both sides perspective. We'll put the budgets together immediately. We just have a form online, or we send the form out depending if we know you or not. And we just say, save this form. Every time you have a project that you want to put under contract, no matter the size and scope, fill out these 10 questions. We'll get it, and we'll put a number to it and say, hey, I think you're safe. And within minutes, by the way, you'll get that number back. And I'll say you're safe within 75,000 to 95,000 is where you need to be. See if those numbers work for you. And then if you lock it up, we'll partner with you, we'll construction manage it, and then we'll tighten up and we'll help define those line items for the lender, right? And we'll sit there and help you, because obviously the lenders that we know are going to be like, hey man, so what's the scope of work look like? What are the costs per line item? All these different things. And let's be honest, most investors don't know how to do that.
Yeah, and that's one of the tough lessons. And I fumbled through many of my first ones, and I had my own spreadsheets, and I was doing this and that, and I was putting together, and I mean we got it to work, right? And I was working with a lot of investors, investing cash, but at least having that breakdown showed that we had some competence. Now, it has to be a lot more
Right.
detailed
Right.
nowadays to get to some of our private money lenders and stuff like that. You guys can definitely help.
Right.
So the next,
That's the key word right there, competence. Like when you have the competence, you're going to be able to get more partnerships, more money, and more importantly, you're going to have people that believe in the deal so
yeah.
that you can do what you need to do.
And one thing that I was not afraid to do was to give up some potential profit to invest in my quote unquote education and my experience and get the deal done versus not getting the deal done. So
Right.
I've never been that guy that said, no, I'm going to keep 100, too stingy. Well, guess what? Then you're going to be too stingy to even do a deal, or it's not going to go.
Right.
The other level is from there. Okay, you got one. You can review the budget. You give them the blessing, and they move on. They do it themselves. Next,
Yes.
you're going to step from that to, okay, yes, we are going to actually manage this whole thing from you, from soup to nuts, and there's going to be a certain fee for doing that. But you're
Mhm.
going to learn in the process. You don't have to be overly concerned about who's going to check in with your contractor, or the GC, or whoever's running the project, because your team will do that. You'll hire certain people. You'll bring certain people into it. Of course, you're going to manage the draw process. You're going to make sure that if there are any change orders, that they're legitimate change orders, and or not, and then basically go from there to the end. But that's just a
Correct.
basic fee. There's no profit participation. So that's the next level that you can do.
Right. Yeah. So the lowest level, we can obviously put together your budgets for a price. And then obviously we can assist you with putting together your scopes of work should you need to do that. And then it just kind of raises by your need. If you really want the construction management, then there's a percentage of construction, and that's how we charge that. All the things you paid for in the front about the budget, things like that, have already been applied to that 12%. So it's really an investment in the future should you need us. But it's also we're getting paid for our time. You need our numbers, we'll give you the numbers. God bless you. Go get that deal. Hope it works out.
Got it. And then the next level is the complete partnership, where whether it's just a regular, maybe high budget fix and flip, a square footage addition, or even adding
Yep.
ADUs, and the borrower says, you know what, I just don't feel like I have the full financial stability or experience to do this on my own. I'm willing to split some profits with you. How do we do this together? It would be kind of like that next third level.
100%. 100%. Yeah, the biggest thing I think the value here is that we're available to assist in putting budgets together same day. And when as investors, we all know that sometimes we don't even have a day if its property is hot. And being able to have as close to accurate, because remember, budgets are projected, they're not accurate. They're not accurate till the project's done. And then you can actually take the last three projects you did, do your average, and say, okay, cool. Check your KPIs in that way and say, okay, cool. My average rehab these past three are $75,000 rehabs. That's where I need to be then if I'm buying that square footage, that amount of rooms, etc. Right. So the numbers and literally the budget, once you learn the budget and you obviously have the numbers, that's going to actually help define your business better because you'll understand what you're buying and what you shouldn't be buying. And then you'll understand what the complexities of the type of homes you're buying, and possibly the trades that you may need based on what you're buying because you're seeing the change orders possibly. You're able to then track the metrics on time. You project time. So budgets and time are projected. They're not accurate till it's finite, right? So you can sit there and go, man, on average, I'm always 2 weeks behind. Well, then it's no longer a 4 week project. Stay with 6, plan for it, right? It's logic. You can't you can't go backwards. So without learning your budget, you'll never be able to control construction. That it starts with the budget. That's the Bible, right? That's the literature. So you can write any scope of work you want. There's going to be a number attached to that scope of work. It's going to cost something to do that scope of work. So I always say start with a budget. What does the home need? And we help you dial it down by square footage. That's it. You have 3 levels, right? Level 1 rehab, level 2 rehab, level 3 rehab. But we dumb it down by square footage. I'm not sitting there going, oh, what's the kitchen going to cost? I'll worry about that later, right? What's the bathroom going to cost? I'll worry about that later. I look at the cost to build new and I divide that number by 3 and I create all of my different levels of rehab in any market based on zip code. And that's how we translate numbers quickly to you.
Okay, perfect. Now, what if somebody is really sick in the head, like you guys, and they decide, hey, you know what? I want to actually learn how to do this. I want to be the guy who eventually runs everything. Tell us just a little bit about your contractor type boot camp where you
Sure,
teach people how to do this themselves so they can become very proficient at it and run their own
sure,
jobs.
sure. So we have an academy that's 197 a month. It's live classes every single week with me on Wednesday nights. You're part of a student portal, and we go through construction. We have about 50 classes a year, so every week, really. We take time off for vacations and holidays and who's sick and whatever. But the recorded calls, you're part of a community of anybody and everybody who's just learning construction, right? So it's kind of nice to be in a pool of everybody who doesn't know anything, or maybe they know enough and they're coming back for something specific. And then we do about 4 boot camps a year in Chicago where we take a topic and we'll deep dive it over a course of 2 days, 3 days, or one day. It just depends on the topic. And we obviously let our students in for half off when it comes to that. But our boot camps are a deep dive. So, for example, the next one we're going to do is going to be a live webinar. I'm going to do it from home, and it's going to be a 4-hour deep dive on project management. Who doesn't want to learn project management? Everybody. It's that's the most nauseating aspect of rehabbing is managing it. So we teach that several times a year on webinars. So we're always putting out that type of education, meaning like you can join anytime, whether it be a flat fee for a webinar, a flat fee for a ticket for a camp in person, or you want to do the membership monthly. So we offer it multiple ways. People learn multiple different ways. We've been doing it 15 years, so I know that I don't give a shit how old you are. Everybody needs to learn at some level, the kindergarten on up way. So we just dumb it down as much as we possibly can. Where I say, hey, this is a 2x4. This is not. Right. And you just do what you've got to do to kind of dumb it down and make it make sense. Because in construction, our saying is make it fit, like make it work. Like that's really code is there to make sure the house doesn't collapse. That's really what it's all about. But construction is like an artist, it's creativity, right? Architects are artists, it's creativity, right? How cool can we make this castle? Okay, well, great. I got the prints. How do we build it now? Just because you're a general contractor doesn't mean we can build anything and everything or have, right? There's different layers and levels to it. Like you have A doctors, B doctors, C doctors. You got A level CPAs, B level CPA. Find your crew, right? But the reality is that's what we teach on and off, and it just depends on where you're kind of at in your career. Also, the type of properties you're buying.
Yeah, I love the fact that you're broad in that scope. One of the first people that I introduced you to, actually, and I won't mention her name just because I didn't get her cool to do it, but people in the community will know who she is because she does
Sure.
cell conversions, and she needed somebody, and you jumped on a call with her the same day and gave her some value. So you can do pretty much anything from residential to commercial and big commercial and all kinds of cool stuff. So
Mhm.
as a money guy, my curiosity would be if it is somebody who's getting into a project and they decide to partner with you, or they can't qualify because they don't have experience. When you do those partnerships, do you actually become a guarantor on the hard money loan or the private money loan or the commercial loan to
Never been asked.
get the deal
I've
approved?
never, I've never been asked.
Okay. Well, then
Honestly, I would 100% consider, but I've never been asked.
got it. So Rotty would consider it. You heard it here. And that just tells me that you're working with qualified sponsors, and those sponsors are still wanting your services and need some extra support, even though they clearly have the experience and or the financials to make it work and all that kind of stuff. But that would be a big thing for me on a project like that because it's, yes, of course, it's about the budget, but it's about the money too. Like, where's the money coming from and can you get it? You can have an awesome deal with a weak sponsor. Not only are you probably not going to get the money, if you can get the money, things are probably not going to go very well. And that's where we want somebody like you to come in there and make sure it's more successful. So that's interesting. So if people want to learn more, Roddy, about the variety of different things, and I think for the one-off budget review and even the construction management piece, your services, the cost for your services are actually very, very reasonable. So
Yeah,
how can people actually learn more? Maybe ask you some questions. I'm going to open up for Q&A here in just a little
they
bit.
can. I'll give my number right here. I'm easy. Like people get shocked that I actually answer my phone, and I'm like, well, I'm on it 24/7, as you can see. So, my number is 847-899-5713. I'll put it in the chat, but it's extremely easy to get a hold of me. Text me. Even my voicemails say, hey,
Yeah,
I
don't
don't
leave.
I don't check voicemails. Text me. Like it's funny, but I generally mean that. I'll put all my contact information in the chat though, but for sure you could contact me. You could follow me on all my social platforms. I'm always putting out education. We have a private group called the Rotty Rehab Academy on Facebook. Go there, invite. fill out the questions. I'll let you in. I'm always putting up forms and files and different documentations and talking about things that are happening in there. Um, there's probably a lot of what you would probably consider heavy hitters in that room, but they have questions too. Like, I've worked with them all. So I'm easy to get a hold of. I'm very transparent. I'm very available.
Got it. Yeah, and I definitely can vouch for that. Roddy's always available. There's never been a time when I've reached out to him and he can get back to me the same day, if not the same like 10 minutes. So that's really great because that helps people feel definitely more comfortable. Anybody want to add
That's right.
anything? Ask a question, have a conversation real quick.
While I'm waiting, I'm gonna put my info in the chat.
Sure. Go ahead, Seth.
Yep. So just to think, so it's even smaller projects like single family homes that you guys
Yes.
would help on anything.
Mhm.
And
Yes.
what
Well,
would you
about anything.
recommend for someone starting out? Like first deal, I mean, is there any deal that's too big starting out? If numbers make sense?
If you're just starting out, I'd start small.
Okay.
Okay. And I genuinely mean that. I generally mean that because I over the years have worked with so many people who it's a husband and wife team. It's their first go, and their rehab is like $285,000 construction rehab. And my first question is, how'd your last one go? And they're like, oh, this is my first one. I go, and you went this damn big on your first one? There's too much happening when you go big. And I always say for your first one, go small. Start at something that you can do maybe 75,000 and under. Again, depending on your market. LA and California price points are not the same as Chicago. Chicago is the same as Tampa. But stay within what's lower in your market and use that as your target. Like you're gonna miss a lot. That's the idea. So that's the advice I'd give any rookie is start small, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Second piece of advice is stay in your lane. Like if you're gonna stay in single family, do a few single families before you venture off into something else.
Yeah. And you guys are nationwide, right?
We are nationwide. I'm based out of Chicago.
Right.
For about 10 years, I had an office out of Orlando and in Tampa. I pulled that office. I'm 100% virtual now from home, but Florida is my second market. I believe now, if I looked at my metrics, I would say Alabama, the whole southeast, like
Right.
literally from New Orleans to probably the Carolinas. I've got that whole triangle,
Okay.
and
Thank
of
you.
course, anything in the Midwest.
All right. Awesome.
What I would also add to Roddy's point is on the financing side, right? When we're looking at something and we see it's your first deal, yeah, of course we're going to fund you if it's your first deal. But if you start adding significant complexities of adding square footage and adding this and lifting the roof off, and it's just a huge budget, and the budget is more than what you are paying for the house in some cases, like that with zero experience, never having it done before, that's going to become a lot more challenging to get approved for, or they're going to knock the leverage down, which is going to mean more down payment unless you are partnering with somebody that has done it before. Like everybody has to bring something of value. Right?
Sure.
One of the things that I brought of value was all the money. And then I'd find people that had deals because I was doing things remotely, and then we'd partner in those situations. So everybody was adding something, bringing something to the table. So
Right.
in a case like that, where you're doing maybe a bigger deal, you found the deal, but you don't have the experience to qualify for this addition or whatever it is, you find somebody that's done 2 or 3 deals already, and you partner with them to become part of the loan sponsors. Now it starts getting easier to get that capital. But
Yep.
if you don't have the experience, it does get messy if all of a sudden you're adding a multiple 6-figure budget on a first flip. Like
Sure.
I think that's
Yep.
why you have really good support within our communities, of course, but it's still when you're the one that neck is on the line.
Yeah.
I'd start
Yeah,
off.
and I'm all for it. I wanna learn. I mean, I'm in this to learn as much as I can, and the more
Right.
people I can work with experience, I mean, I'll be absorbing that information left and right. So yeah, I'm all for that. It makes sense.
Absolutely. Roddy, do you ever do any situations where maybe it's a case study of, hey, I had a client, they called me, they wanted me to project manage this deal. Here's how we set up the budget. Here's how we, while we were in escrow, here's how we helped them with their contingency period and doing their inspections and things like that before we closed escrow. Is there anything like that that you can kind of maybe put together or
Yeah.
just do?
I could always put something together. That's easy. I can look at a lot. I mean, I have so many different cool ones that we could even talk about. Like right now, I'm doing a lot of senior living, right? And we're getting 5% equity in those deals, which is nice because I can minimize the construction fee, our construction fee, and put that back into the budget. That's the idea. And senior living is pretty large. It's a very large project. You're talking minimal 800,000. It goes into the millions in terms of what we're trying to do, especially when you're converting or adding square footage for rooms, right? But in the future, the money will be there when you're renting these rooms out for 9,000 a month, kind of thing, right? Whole different ball game. But those are cool case studies because in that case, oftentimes we're finding mansions that are for sale and they may be 12,000 square feet, 17,000 square feet. And people are like, what the hell are you buying? I'm like, it's not to live in, man. It's actually, we're converting it and adding more rooms and we're going to make it senior living. So that's a cool case study because it's so different and challenging. And the risk, in my opinion, is less because there's not that many investors who are qualified to do that in the country, to be honest with you. There might be 55 well-known ones, if that. And I work with one out here who happens to live 10 minutes from me, Brandon Schwab, who's a great dude. So he's well-known in that space. And with us partnered together, right, it allows him to keep finding better assets to convert. And we keep learning how to convert, right? Because it's challenging. It's not like building a house by any stretch of the imagination. And it's not a rehab loan. It's full construction. Right. So those are cool case studies. I would do a case study for you guys as well on rental portfolios that need to be liquidated and put back into retail, which means we've got to rehab them. And how to do that at scale, where you take, we had a client in Alabama who had 300 rentals that he needed to put back on the market. To do that, they needed to be rehabbed to hit an appraisal, right? And clearly he didn't have any inspections done when he bought that portfolio. So they are just horrendous properties. And we had to come up with crazy solutions to try to get them down to averages of between 35,000 and 40,000 a rehab to get these things back to retail, which was a crazy undertaking, but we ended up doing it in a period of 2 years. And that comes down to negotiating with your subs, fixed pricing, saying, okay, you're my two roofers. You've got 300 homes. I need every roof done for $6,000. When I know you would charge 12, but I need it done for 50% off because I'm giving you everything. And that's another case study where we can talk about the negotiation tactics with the contractors based on volume, based on location, things of that nature. One-off single family case studies are boring. They really are. There's nothing to them. But taking in deconversion of the woman we spoke about, that'd be a cool project to do a case study on, because case studies are about almost two big things: creative financing, and then how did you get it done? Right? Because that's what you want to look at is like, well, how do you scratch your head and go, that looks complex. Case study's job is to dumb it down as best we can and say, this is what we thought it was. This is what it became. This is how much it cost. This is how much we borrowed. This is how much we ended up with. Here's how much we made. Would we do it again? No.
Right on. Well, I appreciate that and your time. I really hope that this is going to be valuable for everybody that gets to see this and watch this. How accessible he is. Ask questions. We just finished, basically finishing a 30-day challenge where we're reaching out to realtors and analyzing deals, putting in offers, trying to get deals under contract. Hopefully now this will be the next, kind of like the next step of confidence for everybody that participated in that. And even if you didn't, hey, now that I'm analyzing deals, I have a great resource to kind of watch over me.
Absolutely. You have a construction partner with us. You guys are good.
Yeah, and we're going to keep doing more of these sorts of things, and I'm sure Rotty and Matt and I will come up with something creative where we'll go to one of his events or do something and just keep, I think, really bringing highlight to what it is that he's doing, because so many people, that's where they really lose their butts in investing in real estate is overruns and improper construction management. So thanks for your time, Rotty. If you guys don't have any other questions, we're going to sign off so you can be with his family. We can continue doing what we're going to do. But I'm going to post the recording, and it'll be live. I'll keep sharing it. If anybody has any questions for me, needs to get pre-approved for a loan, construction, fix and flip, first-time home buyer, you guys know where to reach me to. Send me a message, and we'll take care of you. Until the next time we connect, thanks so much, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, guys.